Hola, friends of cocktails! Today we're finally making the national drink of Brazil, the Caipirinha. It's been a highly requested cocktail, especially for the summer. Plus, some of you wanted to see my riff on it, so we'll do both. First, the classic Caipirinha, with cachaça, lime and sugar. Then, a cocktail time version, incorporating interesting flavors, with a fun and interactive presentation you probably haven't seen before. And if you're thinking, this will take too long for my busy schedule, I've got great news. We started uploading shorter and quicker cocktail time recipes to TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Follow along there if that's what you prefer. But if you're old-fashioned, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll show you how to make 2 caipirinhas. It's cocktail time. Caipirinha is a traditional Brazilian cocktail made by muddling limes with sugar, then adding cachaça and ice. Cachaça is often called Brazilian rum, since it's made from sugarcane, but rum is mostly made from sugar byproducts like molasses, while cachaça is distilled from fermented sugarcane juice. It's less refined and retains more of the aroma and flavor of the sugarcane. The term you'll often hear to describe it is grassy. For sugar, I'm using unrefined cane sugar. If your sugar isn't fine enough, a well-cleaned spice grinder or even a mortar and pestle will do the job. Crushed ice is often used for this drink, which has its advantages, but from what I could find, ice cubes are usually called for in Brazil, and sometimes it's even a shaken cocktail, but we'll build it in the glass, starting with lime. Cut off the ends and half it lengthwise, then cut out this middle bitter part, before quartering 1/2 and placing the lime in the glass. Add 2 bar spoons of superfine unrefined sugar, covering the limes. Muddle the limes to extract the juice and essential oils, soaking and dissolving the sugar in the process. Then add 60 ml or 2 ounces of cachaça. Depending on what style you use, your caipirinha will be either classic, especial or luxo. Fill the glass with ice and stir with a bar spoon, chilling and mixing all of the ingredients, and you'll end up with something special indeed. Top the glass with a bit more ice and an optional lime wedge, if the patron wishes to add more lime juice later. Making the cocktail time version of this drink will be a thirsty business, so let's first take a sip of this. Aroma lets you know this will be citrusy and refreshing. You can even pick up the aforementioned grassy notes before you take the first sip. It's incredibly balanced for a drink made like this: aromatic, vegetal, citrusy, and perfect for a hot summer day, especially in Brazil. There's a good reason they crown this as their national drink. It's delicious. So should one even make an elevated version of this national pride? Inspired by their state motto of Ordem e Progresso, I decided to give it a go. Here are the ingredients I'll use. Cachaça, sugar, and lime are all in there, but we played around with molecular gastronomy and added a few ingredients as well. Looking for ways to play on the vegetal notes of cachaça, I turned to Liquid Intelligence by Dave Arnold and found a technique he calls Justino. It's a way to incorporate flavors of fruits or vegetables into spirits, but still keep them clear. He achieves this by blending, adding an enzyme to break down the pectin, then centrifuging the mixture until clear. This is a perfect way to mix cachaça with red cabbage. We don't have a centrifuge on set yet, but we can still make it work. I'll show you how in a minute. Lime and sugar will be added on top in the form of a liquid sphere, and I'll spray it all with some lavender perfume. This is super simple to make. So let's see how I got to this point. Before we make my version of the caipirinha, to make the red cabbage Justino, we'll need cachaça, red cabbage, which will dehydrate so we can control the amount of dilution ourselves, and pectinex, which will break down the pectin in the cabbage as we blend it all together. Start by cutting the cabbage thinly, then spreading it out evenly to dehydrate it, using your preferred method. An oven or a dehydrator could work, but I'm using the power of the summer heat. Cabbage liquid wouldn't be good in this, so make sure it's fully dehydrated before we move on to the next step. That is to place our ingredients in the blender, starting with 22.5 grams of dehydrated red cabbage. To that, add 100 grams of water, which will rehydrate the cabbage, and make sure our yield isn't too small, but the base is of course cachaça, so add 300 ml or 10 ounces. And lastly, pectinex, 0.6 gram of the enzyme that can help you clarify all fruit and vegetable juices with pectin. Rinse it all out. Blend everything for long enough to feel the spinning blades heat up the liquid inside. The higher temperature will help with the clarification process. Thyme and pectinex will now do its thing, so leave it for about an hour or so. Then all we have to do is strain the liquid. I placed a muslin cloth on a potato ricer, which will give me the option to squeeze out all of the liquid from the red cabbage, making sure we're not leaving cachaça on the filter. The first liquid coming through is usually a bit cloudy still, so I'm transferring this coffee filter and refilter that again. Once everything is filtered, the red cabbage Justino is ready to be used. As for the lime and sugar, we are making liquid spheres, for which we'll first make a cordial. It's a process similar to making super juice. I'll first make oleocitrate, so in a jar place 18 grams of lime peels, followed by 6.50 grams of citric acid and 3.07 grams of malic acid. You see the ratios are different than with super juice. Muddle a bit and let's heat for about an hour. Once the acids pull out the essential oils from the peels, place everything we need in a blender, starting with the oleocitrate. Rinse the jar with water we are adding anyway, 240 ml or 8 ounces in total. Then add the lime juice, 45 ml or 1.5 ounces. And lastly, sugar, since we are making a cordial, 123 grams. Blend for 30 to 40 seconds. To dissolve the sugar, then filter out the peels. That's your lime cordial ready. If you want to make a gimlet, set some aside. But for the reverse spherification, we'll need to add calcium salt to the cordial. Once we drop this mixture into an alginate bath, it will cause the liquid to draw itself into a spherical shape and become encapsulated by the gel-like membrane. So pour the cordial back into the blender and weigh how much you have. Then add calcium lactate, 3% weight of the cordial. For me, that's 11.2 gram. Blend thoroughly to dissolve the powder before pouring 30 ml of this mixture into separate molds. Don't worry about the shape, we just want it to hold at least 30 ml or 1 ounce. Since this is not viscous enough to form nice spheres, in the sodium alginate bath, we need to freeze it. I already did half of this mold to speed up our process. Once you have your cordial hardened, you'll need 3 baths for our reverse verification process. The first will be the water and sodium alginate mix, which makes this all possible. And that's really where you'll want to start this whole process, because once you blend together 1 liter water with 5 grams of sodium alginate, you leave this to sit in the fridge until there are no more air bubbles and it becomes clear again. I left it in the fridge for 24 hours. Before I then add it to the first bowl, I'll heat it up slightly to about 50 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which will help the solidified cordial to melt and form a sphere once we drop it in. The other 2 bowls are filled with just water. Then comes the fun part, transferring the cordial from the molds into the sodium alginate mix, moving it around slightly so it forms a sphere and leaving it in there for about 3 minutes. Then transfer the spheres into the second and third bath, finally ending with lime cordial in a membrane of lime cordial. Geeky stuff, but still pretty cool, right? Do that for all the calcium lactate cordial mix, moving them carefully from one bath to the next and into separate containers, just in case. I'll of course leave links to both calcium lactate and sodium alginate in the description. And lastly, the easiest part, lavender perfume. Just mix 30 ml or 1 ounce of vodka with 4 drops of organic lavender essential oil. Shake well to mix and that's it. So we are back here, ready to first mix the Justino, sake and saline solution. I'll start by chilling the mixing glass, while the clear, large ice cube is already tempering. To make a small dent on top of the cube for the cordial sphere, I'll use the back of a spoon and a torch. The ice cube will then chill the glass as we make the cocktail. Start by adding 45 ml or 1.5 ounce of our red Cabbage Justino. This of course already has cachaça in it. Next, 15 ml or half an ounce of sake. It will pair nicely with vegetal notes of the Justino, but it's also fitting to use it, since the largest Japanese population outside of their country is located in Brazil. And to enhance the flavors in this cocktail, add 2 drops of 20% saline solution. Add plenty of ice and stir to chill and dilute. Then strain the cocktail in the glass, next to the clear ice block. Once you're done, place 1 cordial sphere carefully in the same ice cube. And for some floral fragrance, lavender plus a few sprays of lavender perfume. Lastly, as you serve, place a small cocktail peak in the glass for the cordial. Here's why. Cheers. As the gas pierces the cordial sphere, it leaches out and throughout your drink, slowly sinking to the bottom, but also mixing with the spirit. More importantly, the gas sees the interesting phenomenon of the drink changing color from purple to red. Acids in the cordial can do that to red cabbage. Interesting, right? Lavender aroma hits first, but it can also pick out lime and red cabbage. On the palate, an explosion of flavors. Grassy cachaça works incredibly well with red cabbage, complementing the freshness of sake and the lime cordial. A subtle peppery undertone of cachaça leaves an almost vegetal aftertaste, and you'll dive right in for another sip. A lot of work? Maybe, but that's how you make progress, right? And after a sip, everything is in order. Saúde, friends of cocktails.